What's good, everybody? I'm Rariruin, and welcome back to my Dislyte Esper review series. Last time we covered True, and now we're going to be moving on to our first Shimmer unit. Q is a rare Shimmer support Esper. He's a carefree vlogger that is assigned to work with Bryn in the Esper Union as an ops chief. As a unit though, in terms of 3 stars, he's not bad, but he's not necessarily good in terms of longevity. Let's get into his base stats. Q's stats are as follows. The only thing that he has over Bryn and Drew is that he's a little bit more tankier when it comes to the HP department. As a 3-star, these stats are nothing really crazy to worry about. His attack is pretty standard and he has decent speed. Let's move on to his skills though. Q's first skill, Lover's Curse, deals 100% attack damage to one enemy and has a 40% chance of inflicting defense down for 2 turns. The max and Billimon effect on this skill is that the damage is increased to 120% and the trigger chance for the defense down is increased to 75%. His second skill, Heartbreaker, is a 3-turn cooldown skill that deals 90% attack damage to all enemies and has a 50% chance of inflicting attack down for 2 turns. The max and Billimon effect on this skill is that the trigger chance is upped to 75% and the damage is increased to 100%, alongside the cooldown being reduced by 1 turn. His third and final skill, Joke of the Aether, is a 4-turn cooldown skill that deals 160% attack damage to 2 enemies and inflicts Link for 2 turns. This is our first Silver Ring debuff. The effect goes as follows. When a linked unit is attacked, their counterpart takes true damage equal to 80% of damage dealt in the attack. The max and Billimon effect on this skill is the damage is increased to 180% and the cooldown is reduced by 1 turn. Moving on to his ascensions, his A1 and A2 are the standard stat increases, while his A3 now changes his link to last for an extra turn. He gets an HP increase with A4, a little bit more speed with A5, and a standard 20% in attack for his A6. So overall, pretty standard ascensions. Moving on to his resonances, he's a 3-star. These resonances aren't going to be very game changing. R1 is a standard. This skill gets a final damage plus 10. Majority of the units in this game's R1s are going to be final damage on their first or third ability. His R2 is whenever the target's HP is above 50%, he gets an extra 10% to his damage. R3, R5, and R6 are just flat stat increases, but his R4 is nice because upon any enemy death, and this doesn't mean that he has to kill the enemy, it's just on any enemy death, he gets speed plus 20, which is pretty nice because you could be throwing out his Joke of the Aether a lot and getting the link out. Last but not least, moving on to his Divinate, when an enemy's HP is greater than 70%, his S1's damage is increased by 9%, and the max Divinate effect on this is that it is upped from 9 to 20% alongside the base stat increases here. Moving on to his relics, you could do either War or Wind for the 4-piece set. For the 2-piece set, you can go with either Fiery or Grove. So you could just slap any of those types of relics on him, and I guarantee you he will do what he needs to do for the story. Substats to be looking for though, anything with attack bonus, and speed. You want to give him as much attack as possible and make sure that he is pretty fast. The minimum required speed that you want for him to at least be moving first in story is about maybe 200, 210. And then other subsets to look for are obviously crit rate, crit damage. He wouldn't be a DPS support character if he wasn't dealing crit damage or anything, right? He doesn't deal true damage, so you do want to give him at least maybe 40 to 50% crit rate and then maybe 90% crit damage, and you should be fine. And that about does it for this video. I wanted to put this video out for Valentine's Day given the character that this was, but unfortunately I got unmotivated again. I will be making an effort to try and at least be a little bit more consistent with these videos. I know I keep promising and all that, but you guys gotta trust the process and sit here through it with me. That about does it for Q. In the next video, we'll be covering the first healer that we get in the game, Helena. So be sure to stay tuned for that. I'm Rariruin, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see ya. Bye-bye.